let's start with the panel. Happy to have here Florian Tramèr from ETH Zurich. You sit here. And Carmen de la Cruz from Axians. Come on here.
I'm fine.
Okay.
Okay.
And why don't you sit there, and Thomas can join us later. So we're going to talk about AI, surprise AI, okay. Protecting models, protecting the data for AI, and protecting humanity from AI. So we're going to see where we get there with, with that topic. But let's start with having our panelists introduce themselves. Carmen, who are you and what do you do with AI?
Well, my name is Carmen de la Cruz. I'm an attorney and notary public. So today maybe a little bit exotic when I look at all these experts. I have worked in the tech business for the last 25 to 30 years. I get older, so the experience is also broader. I have supported clients and internally and externally in the field of technology, and now obviously also in the field of AI, whatever we as lawyers call AI, which might be different than what you call AI anyway.
Oh, we're all using ChatGPT, so.
I arrived at ChatGPT at least, so.
Good. Florian, you're from ETH Zurich.
Yes, I'm an assistant professor in computer science. I do research on AI security. My background was originally in sort of normal security, cryptography were kind of the things I was excited about as a student. And then at some point, I still don't really remember how I started working on AI in 2016, 2015 or so. And I've had a lot of fun since then, just breaking AI applications, making them leak data, making them output the wrong things, and sort of figuring out how we can try to improve these systems. And yeah, it's been very, very fun the last couple of years that now all of a sudden everyone's interested in this. And so it makes my research more fun as well.
So I think you're a colleague of Dorian, who was in the morning here, who tries to try to break PQC, and also in all different ways. So it's I think a good research topic, breaking things, So so Thomas will should join us in a few minutes. Let's see when he's arriving. There are tons of AI models out there, So and we have a new one from ETH now. It's called Apertus. Is it better than the Chinese one, the deepfake? The DeepSeek.
In Romansh, I think it's probably way better. So I think that was one of the things that was kind of part of the design decision a bit, to try to really make this model extremely multilingual.
So that he can speak Romansh.
Yeah, I haven't tried. I actually don't know how good its Swiss German is either. But the goal was certainly not to build a model that's competitive with the ones that come from the top labs. A lot of this was also essentially a research exercise. We now have this huge supercluster in Lugano, one of the biggest academic ones in the world.
Yeah. Were you part of the development of this, or or is this how big can I imagine the group at ETH doing this is?
So it's fairly large. It's probably hundreds of people that were involved overall. I played a relatively minor role. I had some of my PhD students who were interested in running experiments on so-called data poisoning attacks. So essentially figuring out if one can make small changes to the training data of a machine learning model and make it sort of learn wrong things. And so we inserted a whole bunch of weird things into the training data of this model, and are now sort of studying kind of what effect this might have had, how robust the training procedure was. And this is essentially how a lot of people got involved in this project. There was sort of a small core of people who really figured out how to train a model, how to write all the infrastructure to do this, and then a whole bunch of other people who are interested in conducting research projects around this, and I think this is also how the project will continue developing in the future.
Oh, cool, cool. So, Carmen, are you using Apertus or are you using other models at Axians? So what?
Unfortunately, not yet. So I haven't had time to try it out. So it's certainly something on my list.
I heard it's not that easy to try out. So
yeah, I know now I have a good neighbor maybe I can ask or someone else. But no, not tried out yet. I mean, I use maybe the usual ones and the ones that are allowed in the corporate world when we may catch up on the regulation part. So yeah, that's more or less it. Struggling sometimes as normal user, I would say, but yeah, that's where I use it every day.
Yeah. So one of the questions is how secure are AI models, and the question is, what is secure? Have you ever thought about that?
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to define properly. My go-to answer would be no, they're not secure.
Okay, that's the easy answer.
That's kind of the easy answer. I think there's many things we might want from an AI model, sort of security properties we might expect from other pieces of software that are very, very hard to get with AI. They're sort of non-deterministic. They give you different answers for the same question every time. You can give a question and rephrase it a very tiny bit and get something completely different as an answer. So it's very, very unpredictable as a piece of software. There are certain tasks that it can solve way better than any other piece of software, or maybe even than some humans, and certain tasks that are trivial for a calculator and that they can't solve. And so it's very hard to build useful tools or useful products around these models that ultimately
Yep. I mean,
are secure.
It's the thing when you say they're not very deterministic, you know. So I mean, this is the nightmare of the legal world, you know. So, but they're like humans, you know. We're also not always deterministic in that sense.
Yeah, agreed. However, we try obviously to put everything in a box and then tick it off and so on, and that doesn't work. And it needed maybe some change of mindset and also then change of how dealing with the potential consequences, because we also sort of worked on the basis right is right and wrong is wrong, which doesn't work here. So the approach as a legal approach has to be a different one. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we had this example before from about attestation, and you attest the output from the model, you know, but next time you're asking the same questions or slightly different questions, you get something different, you know. So and you attest that again. So we're still trying to figure out where is the value in attesting an answer from an AI, you know. So this is a challenge. So I see Thomas is here, and we're gonna have to mic him up, but we can go to the next question, which is about regulation, you know. So we're having this big organization in Europe here called EU, you know, and they're trying to regulate everything, and you're in the law business, you know, Carmen. What kind of regulations are out there right now? So, and what do we have to look for, you know, and is there anything we have to be careful about?
I would say so, yes, some sort of things. So you might have heard from the AI Act that entered into force last year, which sort of clusters the different models and gives you additional duties depending on what kind of AI system, as we call it, or as it is defined, are used. It's rather based on product, coming from product security and product liability, and trying really also to focus on safety, not harming any people. So it's not only focused on natural persons, but really also on safety, which has an impact on the whole thing, how it's built up. It's a lot of paper stuff, a lot of processes, a lot of things that you need to fulfill in order to try to build up secure systems where you can trace, where you can know what really was going on, which is obviously the contradiction with the technology itself.
Yeah, I'll get back to that regulation part, but let's have Thomas here join us.
Thank you.
Thomas. Thomas being stuck in traffic coming from his data center in Basel. So
Right.
quickly introduce yourself. Who are you and
Yes.
what do you do with AI?
So my name is Thomas Taroni. I'm the chairman of the Phoenix Technologies. Just went here from Basel, as you have said. There is our AI supercomputer located. So we have a commercially usable supercomputer there. And it went online last September. We just built now the second one since it goes that fast.
Good, good. We're going to talk more about your supercomputer or your AI cluster in Basel, Basel being in Switzerland. So if these EU regulation, Carmen, how much of those EU regulation apply to Switzerland? Did we already, being the best scholar in Europe and implement the regulations before the rest of EU does implement the regulations, or where are we here in Switzerland?
Well, we're still discussing. So we haven't implemented yet. It's applicable for all those who use AI systems of the EU, of providers that are based in the EU or have somehow a connection. So yes, it is important for us, but we are still studying how to implement it. So it will come, but maybe in a more decent, slightly different way. But I mean, we do it as we always do it. We do it decent, but we do it. So we implement, this is clear. The question is just how we will do it in the end.
Is it hindering your research in any way, or where do you see it?
No, so far not. I mean, there were some discussions just a couple of weeks ago, more about laws that were being discussed in Switzerland about actually being extremely restrictive on the use of public data for AI. And this actually caused a bit of concern among researchers because the law, as far as I understand, how it was proposed at the time, would have made even our research dubious from a legal perspective. And of course, so a bunch of researchers, we signed essentially an open letter, kind of saying this is probably not the way we want to go. And as far as I know, so far the things have stalled a bit now and are being rediscussed. And yeah, this is kind of one of the directions where I think there's a lot of talk about legislation, and already a bunch of lawsuits about sort of inappropriate use of data for training. It's going to be interesting to see how this gets.
My impression is all the books written are already in the AI models out there, so it's everything is already in there.
Yeah, and
without permission. So.
And all the authors are essentially suing every single company out there. So yeah, it's
So what they use for the Apertus model to train it?
So there they try to be extremely conservative on this side, actually, to really only make use of data from the internet that's either open in like an explicit way or free from copyright or licensing requirements, which is sort of, it's kind of a nice thing to do to show that, hey, we can do that and we can build models that are good, but we don't have to sort of fool ourselves that we're not going to be able to build the best models by restricting training data in this way.
I mean, the one thing we as Securosys think, you can actually use our website and all the information that's there in any AI model, and we would kind of love to figure out how to, when ChatGPT is asked for an HSM, that it spits out Securosys. We haven't figured out that yet. So we cannot buy ads like in Google and do that there. So we will figure that out later. But protecting the IP is a big thing, and I think how can I keep my data and IP secure? And I think this is something you're a little bit involved, Thomas, with your cluster, so AI cluster.
Yes, this is basically the most important question we are facing today. When clients asking us, hey, when we can use AI on your cluster, how we protect our data. And I think for me was new at the time of cryptographic stuff with blockchain, etc. It was always like data is in rest. And now you have always the topic, the data is moving around and you have to protect. So your data is on the storage, on the LLM, and afterwards again everywhere else. So you have to protect it in all these different levels. And specifically when it's, an example, a patent or something in medicine sector that you want to protect, it's very heavy to do that on all that layers. So
I mean, patents are public. Come on, that should be available to.
If it's in creation, specifically in pharma at the end, if they.
That's why you're in Basel, huh? Okay.
And these guys really want to protect everything already while it's going into the GPU at the end, and then inside the GPU, and then afterwards on the next storage. And yeah, there are a lot of questions to resolve before you can say, hey, it's secure on every level, and you need technology for all of that. And then you have these three terms, data in rest, move, and again in rest at the end.
Yeah. So in your AI cluster, you're providing models. What models are people using? Are they using Apertus or are they using?
Yeah, no, they do.
Yes. They call it deepfake. It's DeepSeek.
DeepSeek, yes.
So, or is it Llama or?
Yeah, they are all available. The most important thing is regarding to that models, you need a lot of GPUs for running them. So when you run a DeepSeek with 600 billion parameters, you need something like 64 GPUs, and then you need a supercomputer for that, because these GPUs must be in a range of 4 nanoseconds to each other to run such a huge model at the end. And you cannot run such model for each client. You know, this is impossible. It's some creepy beepy idea someone else have. So you run one model for all the clients, and then you must ensure from a security perspective that each request is isolated from the beginning to the end. So this is basically the challenge in such a moment that you face, yes.
Yeah, I mean, so one example we are looking at using AI agents is in our support system, for example. You know, and so there is support stuff that we have on our website. You know, it's everybody can read it, how to implement something with our HSM. But then there is stuff like our user manual, which is not public. You know, and in a support request, you know, or people can actually access it. How can I keep, or how can you keep my support manual secure so that the other guys you're sharing the CPUs with or the GPUs with don't have access to it?
This starts with the fact that you have Gen AI. So before it was like machine learning, there you do not have any context that you can bring to the model. So everything was inside. In the moment you call such a model, you can also enrich it with data. Then bigger the context window is, then more data you can put in. And this should, in such a case, relate to some access rights in an old traditional way before you inject it to the model. If it's trained inside the model, then it's inside and everyone can access it. It's very heavy to say then you see that and you see that not, or something like this. So most probably you inject that while execution in such a moment, when you have data that not everyone should see. So the context window a large language model have is the most important thing to how much data you can put into a request at the end.
Yeah. And I think you have different plans how to break that already.
I mean, I think this is ultimately I guess this is the sort of conservative or maybe worst case view, is that essentially whatever goes whatever your language model or your agent has access to, internally, you should somehow expect that someone who interacts with the language model is going to be able to see it. Some models make this slightly harder than others, but there hasn't been one that has hit the market yet where this is, I would say, hard to do. And this is a problem that every single company I've seen that has tried to deploy agents for some interesting task ultimately has to grapple with is as soon as you make these language models do something interesting that might involve potentially sensitive data or sensitive levels of access, you kind of have to assume that at some point everything's going to go wrong and sort of build your system in such a way that it's resilient to that happening because it will.
It will go wrong.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, it will.
Then we have the lawyers who have to clean up, figure it out. Do you expect there is going to be a lot of lawsuits in related to this coming up?
Cases, yes. Lawsuits is another thing, but cases, yes. I mean, this breach, then we will have issues, and yeah. I mean, that's the way IT works, no? There are things that work, and sometimes there are issues, yes.
Yeah, good. Well, always interesting to see is if how you use for yourself or your organization's AI, and you have already running AI agents in your organizations, and you let them loose on confidential data. You're nodding. Or
no, I mean I'm fairly boring on that front because I let my students do the grunt work these days. But I use AI models a lot for writing and I guess code models, which these days work a little bit like agents, definitely for sort of local things. I haven't connected like ChatGPT to like my personal data or anything yet. That's not something I'm particularly comfortable with.
I mean, if I look at the how AI might replace some of our workforce or anything, I mean, you as a lawyer were trained as a paralegal, and this was kind of finding everything related to a case, These days,
Or sooner, really.
you do it in 3 seconds, with AI. So what's going to happen to your profession, So all the new people have no idea anymore. So
yeah, we will see together, I think. But everything that can be made faster, easier, you can also researchers make it much easier than you will use it anyway. There might be other different questions. So it just normally it shifts. But yes, of course, there will be a huge change. But I think that's nothing new. So we have to just live with it, everybody. So for a lot of our work, this is rather similar.
is there already a law AI agent that you can use, or does a law AI or a Swiss obligation AI?
There are quite some also some agents around, but I mean, you really to use it on a day-to-day basis with good results. That's also still work in progress, and that's what makes it interesting right now. And maybe in 2 years things will be different anyway.
Yeah. That's kind of the usual thing. When AI generates something, you still have to make sure it makes sense, So, Thomas, you're kind of the guy who's running his whole life with AI agents. So, give us a few examples. So.
Yeah, I really use a lot AI agents since a longer time, more out of curiosity. You know how I am, so I have to try everything at the end. So, but I give you an example how. Yeah, already with a very, very simple example, it can be super dangerous. So we see sometimes, hey, AI should book a table. So if AI should book a table in a restaurant on behalf of me, it already needs access to my email, credit card, or something like that, and have to act on behalf of me. Already this very simple thing shows us it's not that easy, because I do not want at the end that an AI is using my email and booking a table on behalf of me with a text I've never read. So you see that there is a fine line where a human or a person is not able to trust. At the end, the AI has to act as you if you want to trust this AI. And this is a huge gap. So I've tried by myself to train something with all my data to get at that point. And it is somehow okay to let it do that. I have let it run for a couple of weeks to answer emails and stuff like this, but it's
let it answer emails?
Yeah, no more, but I've tried it a while, or I have...
So it just gives you drafts for answer, or?
No, I have let it run a while, really, like answering emails, and only to see... No,
That's why you suddenly answered all my emails.
No, it's more from my personal perspective. If we build products in AI, I want to see where I have my red line. Because if I reach the red line, what was basically there, I'm pretty sure no one ever will do this. So this was more the behavior why I'm trying this stuff. What I think it's very cool, by the way, now is this protocols on the market where you can do automated payments with AI agents. This stuff, I think, will have a big...
We had a whole sessions on the MCP before that.
Exactly. So with MCP, we do a lot integration, automated payments or articles from the databases, etc.
So what payments do you let AI do automatically?
So I have tried with crypto, of course, if you know me. So,
okay.
Yeah, to have an agent that can pay automatically with Ethereum, at example. So stuff like this. So I think this is a very cool thing. And there is some work needed to have protocols in place, but at the end, the AI agents will pay automatically when they do something for you. So it will go somehow automatically at that point, in my opinion. And this, I think it's worth to have a look into it, while automated emails and stuff where AI should act like me, it will not gonna work somehow. But if it's do a simple task like do a payment or only one thing, this we will see, yes.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing, Thomas told me that he's also using it in LinkedIn to add automated likes.
Yes.
If you got a like from him, it was not him, it was his AI doing.
This was also to filter out what is interesting. So I've trained an AI with all my stuff, as I've said before, and the likes are, here is something of interest of you, because the AI have already decided, the agent, hey, this is potentially more than 98% accurate for me. So I have a look at it. And this works very well, by the way.
So you're already looking how to break his.
No, I think this is actually it's a perfect example of something that AI can be super useful for, because it solves a problem, like it makes something more efficient, but it's also one of these use cases where mistakes really don't matter all that much.
Yes.
If the model misses something that you were actually interested in, well, you might hear about it from someone else. If it at some point just shows you something, maybe someone designs a post that literally says, click me, and then the AI gets fooled. Well, you lost a nanosecond while reading something unimportant. And I think these are great use cases. There's just not that many of them. Or at least these are the things we should be thinking about, sort of how to make our life easier in ways that are not dangerous.
I mean, I was just thinking, my AI generated LinkedIn posts get AI liked by Thomas.
Be the case.
So
it's the future.
It's just a big AI meeting on LinkedIn, that nobody's actually reading that stuff anymore. So.
No, but to give you a good example how important input from a person is when you use AI at the end. So we have at the end in HR, I've tried also when you get a lot of applications to filter out the correct thing. And I've thought initially, hey, if I put the job description onto it and saying, hey, give me the 3 top persons, this works very well, but it is not enough, because you have to add specific things you are searching for that are not in job description. For example, if your company is heavily growing right now, you search for different profiles as if your company is not heavily growing right now. So by adding these kind of things, you get much more better results. So at the end, it's a probability game, and you need to put the correct questions into it, and therefore I think it's not like AI is replacing the person, but I think more in the way the person that is using AI is probably replacing you by tomorrow. So it's more this direction, I think so.
I think this is the mantra my team hears all the time, you know, so it's AI is not replacing what you're doing. Somebody who uses AI is replacing
Yes.
what you're doing, you know. So we have to be getting proficient with using AI. So I have a couple more questions here, and I'm thinking of going to the humanity aspect of it. What are our biggest opportunities with AI? So where do you see it go? You know, so what can it do?
I can only explain again from myself because I'm using it. So for me, it's the 80-20 thing. So all the topics, I not know anything about it, and I can ask a good trained large language model about it, and I'm happy with the 80% okay answer. It boosts me massively in my daily work. Everywhere where I need the 100%, it is not really helpful because the last 20% are the hardest ones. So, and here I see a huge potential in the upcoming years in all these things. So you should use AI for your 80% okay questions. But out of that is heavy to say. Even on programming and etc., I see potential by searching for errors, stuff like this, but not. Yeah, it will not produce the perfect code at the end, or not what we understand as the perfect code, but it will produce something that speed up my way to get there. So
you see that the same way in the law field?
Yes, I think, I mean, it's less time consuming, certain things, you're faster. You may have time to, as you said, to do researches, work on other things, maybe also quantity-wise, we can do more because we gain, whether this is good or not is another thing. And in some areas, certainly also the quality. Then we had a discussion also internally and maybe also with others. What about, is there a difference whether you're younger or older? I mean, I have seen quite a lot of things, so it's a little bit different than my young legal counsel. So it might also have a difference on, obviously, on my daily work here.
So Florian, we're at the 80% point. The models are getting better. Are we going to get to 90%, 100%, or you don't see that coming?
So I think getting better and better for sure. There's this very, very nice quote from a software developer who's been doing a lot of cool work with LLMs called Simon Willison, who says if you're doing application security, 99% means you fail. And this is I think it's something that's quite unique about security, in that there's many areas where getting to 99% is amazing. Even maybe you get to 99.9% and then you've just solved everything. For security, that means someone has to try 1,000 times and they're going to break your system, which usually is not that great. And so for security, you really want the kind of, in principle, 100%. Of course, there might be bugs here and there, and you might have to go and fix them, but in principle, you should want 100%. And that's something that is much harder or pretty much impossible from what we see right now to achieve with machine learning models. And so this is going to be, I think, very hard in some use cases to go kind of from something that's nearly always correct to something that's really robust and reliable, even when it's faced with attackers and so on.
So this was pretty much the statement that the human will not be replaced. So we're always going to have a thinking human with an AI. So
I think in some applications, yeah, that's going to be necessary. Yeah,
it's going to be necessary. Yeah, except for your likes, you know. So
Yeah, this is no.
but this I see also as a potentially an enormous opportunity for humanity, that this kind of idea of personalized software.
Yes.
Also kind of software on demand, that you might be able to, you know, build a simple application or a simple new user interface for some application by yourself without needing to know how to code. For recommendation engines, I could see this be huge, that you can now, you know, you can go to your social media, and instead of having to use whatever algorithm Facebook decided was the right way to sell you ads, you could just throw your LLM at this and have the LLM sort of decide for you which things to recommend to you for kind of your own sanity and well-being. And this is actually something I haven't really seen explored yet, but it seems like an amazing opportunity to somehow get back our kind of our own let's say ability to choose what things we actually want to see, and not have this be at the mercy of.
So you're kind of saying we're going to move away from Microsoft Office and have more or less our own software.
But to comment that shortly, I've tried exactly that, but not on Facebook, because on Blue Sky you can catch the whole stream.
Yeah.
And I've done exactly that, the whole stream, 5 million messages per second or minute, I'm not 100% sure, and then let the LLM decide my own feed. So there I have now my own feed. This replaces the feed that the algorithm gives you today. So I've basically created my own feed with that, and this is exactly how you have just said. It's get back the control over what you see and what you don't see at the end.
You get back the control to an LLM that decides for you.
Yeah, but
you have to make sure
it is trained with your data at that point. This is now the key point.
Good. So I have this other question, and also there was I think a week or two ago, this MIT study, you know, that people using, I think ChatGPT was the example, to write something. The people that wrote a blog by themselves, you know, people that used ChatGPT to help them write the blog, and then there were people that had the whole blog ChatGPT was writing it for them, you know. So, and they measured the brain activity of these people, you know, and of course, when you write it yourself, it's very active. When you have help, you're half active, and if you just let ChatGPT do everything for you, you have pretty much no brain activity related to that. Similarly, like a few days later, the people who wrote the thing, you know, remembered what they wrote, you know. People who had some help had an idea what they wrote, and the remaining that used ChatGPT, everything didn't remember anything, you know. So are we getting on dumber, you know? Is humanity getting dumber using AI?
I think there is a risk of this. I mean, we see this, for example, with teaching people to program today. It's like it's hard when they can just get something that's 80% correct by just typing in what they want. And learning to write is probably going to go a bit the same way, unless we really insist on it in schools, that people just have to, the same way we insist people learn how to do mental arithmetic, even though a calculator is better, that we insist on people learning to write by themselves. At the same time, I think there's a huge amount of writing that happens in our lives, in our professions, that is incredibly dull, and where I'm actually very, very happy not having to activate any brain cycles for it. So hopefully we'll be able to use our brain cycles for better things and leave the boring stuff.
Requests or
Exactly. The grant requests is ChatGPT, and it probably gets reviewed by ChatGPT in the end, and then the money gets sent by ChatGPT, and yeah.
How you see that happening with your work, Carmen?
Well, I think as I said before, I think nevertheless there will be a mix because out of experience I mean, you're all technicians, so normally it's not as easy as you say that it is. And this needs my brain to get over it and to have maybe several solutions and to try to figure out how it works and so on. So I hope that my brain keeps working and for certain things, it's good not to have to do that again. Those emails that come from me that are long and nobody reads anyway. So that's the lawyer stuff then.
Thomas.
Yeah, it's rather easy. The question is what you have done while ChatGPT have wrote something for you. So if you do nothing, you will get dumber. If you have done something more effective, you will get better.
I watch cat videos.
This is obviously the thing. If you watch cat videos while ChatGPT is doing your work, you will be at the end stupid. This must be the thing at the end. Regarding to a second very small point regarding to multiple agents we had before. So also regarding to is it stupid or not. So these kind of LLMs are acting somehow similar as we. So if I basically program a software by myself as a single person, of course, it's full of bugs at the end. So if I attach you as a software tester, then it will have a better quality. So, and this is also what I see in experience in production systems now. You can do the same. You can add an agent that is programming a software, and you can add an agent that is doing testing it, and then a third one that is doing the correction on it. So as soon as you start to use it like that, you can significantly go up to the 80%, but you have to do basically the same thing as you do in normal life. So this.
Okay, so you have a whole team now that does your
but this is the reality. You call it not agent. So the frameworks like Cruz AI, they call it a Crew. So you have like 20 agents doing a job together, and you put a task into it, and they work 20 minutes on it, and there's an output. Like if you want to do a sales analysis on a potential client, you have various different roles, and they analyze it with different LLMs for different things, and at the end you have a plan, and this increases massively the quality of the output instead of using one agent.
Yeah. So I see that it's already 5:30 and people are getting thirsty for the reception. So I'm getting to my final questions, So I mean, a lot of it is driven by the Silicon Valley folks, and there's like this evangelism about AIs, that the AI should rule the world, and the thing is, the question is, are we going to get there? Is there going to be an AI that's really could rule the world? And if yes, when? So what time would that be? So
I'm somewhat skeptical from a security perspective.
You're Swiss,
Yes, but essentially for one reason is that I think one thing that's actually quite dangerous with having this sort of concept of a very central AI is that even if we somehow manage to create AI that's as smart as humans or maybe even somewhat smarter, is we know that we're not infallible. Like some of us fall for phishing scams or for other types of attacks. And essentially our society is kind of built on a sort of reliance that if one person makes a mistake, not everything goes crumbling down. And if we have one AI that's just kind of this best thing that everyone interacts with, and then someone at some point finds a flaw in it, you have like suddenly 1 billion people that can be impacted at once, and that seems very, very dangerous. And so
it's dangerous, but it's not impossible. So
yeah, and I think that's actually the problem with a lot of this thinking in Silicon Valley is that people have gotten quite rich on this sort of mantra on sort of move fast, break things. And when we start having products like these AI models that are just getting smarter and smarter and can do more and more very, very cool things, at some point I think it's maybe not the right way to approach development anymore.
Super AI,
I don't think so. Legally, early or later, we will nevertheless, the last parts of the brain will tell you that there might be an issue with competition and so on, even in the US. I mean, depending a little bit how things will develop. So I don't think so. I think there will be not one big thing, but maybe several as today. Yeah.
Okay. Thomas.
So yes, of course, we will have it one day, but absolutely not with the technology we have today. So today we have more like a probability thing, what is very great and changes actually the world, but it will not be this AGI. Definitely, it will something totally different.
Will be something totally different.
Yeah, but it will be once a day there, potentially with other technology like quantum computing. I do not know, but not with a large language model. So
as we've seen today, the quantum computer is still quite far away. But thank you very much, my panel. Thank you very much for everybody. Thank you. Thank you. With that, I would like to thank everybody again. Thanks to speakers, thanks to panelists. It was a great thing to have you all. Thank you for our sponsors. 6 Key Factor, ID Security at Finis, Blockrise, Prefactor, OpenSSL, and OST. And finally, I'd like to thank my team, Mina, Audrey, Michaela, Stephanie, our photographer, and everybody who made this such a great event. Lazar, of course, and the technical team here. Thank you very much. Thank you.